MotoGP is a beautiful love story unraveled bi-weekly. The protagonist, a middle-aged homeboy with a mustache, closely watches as the pearl of his heart races his Mark VDS Honda all over the globe. The sexual tension between Kevin and Alex Marquez rivals that of your high school star quarterback and the quiet, often misunderstood girl in your English class that seems to know the meaning behind the symbolism of Macbeth before your teacher even explains it. My prediction, Kevin will happen upon tickets to this season's closer in Valencia, where the two lovers will fatefully cross paths in front of the porta potty behind pit lane. The facade of hate and allegations of nepotism will transform into the tender, magical moment where Kevin embraces his delicate love and the two souls become one. Alex will go on to win the Moto2 title, and our protagonist will wait for him eagerly in Parc Ferme with both his favorite paella. What's odd, too, is like many of the reviews mention paella. I don't know why that is.
Spanish. Paella.
Yeah, exactly.
It's relevant.
Oh, read another. Read another.
Here's the deal, bros. You already know why you're here. You watch the races, then you talk shit with your bros about all the crazy stuff you just saw go down. Can it get better? Yes. How? More fucking bros, bro. Sick of Nick Harris saying weird and or wrong stuff all the time? Think Lorenzo's a wuss? Want to hear expert tire analysis? Psych! Fuck that tire shit. No one wants to hear that. You want to hear some dudes bro down while drinking wine talking shit because the only thing bigger than their biceps is their opinions. This is the real deal, son. Join the fam for the love of all things sacred and holy on two wheels. Not only do I look forward to the races, but also the expert bro-analysis of Kevin, Rob, Everett, and Dennis.
Oh.
Right. Finally, this one's for the boys. Duke Nukem 3D God mode. Up A, down B, C, down for Sega.
Damn. That's
Duke
good,
Nukem
dude.
was on Sega? Shit, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Dropping
terrible.
knowledge.
Yeah, seriously. I feel bad. Those two were brilliant, and never mind.
And probably the most realist review of all, MotoGP is just a bunch of random dudes who sound like they have no authority in anything, pull stuff completely out of their ass, and remind me of Donald Trump going on a tangent, making everyone wonder what the hell they're talking about. So 10 out of 10. Now, while the above is true to an extent, MotoGP is fun to listen to. Sometimes their opinions are out there, sometimes you disagree with them, but that's okay. They provide insight, start discussions, and have cool guests. I've learned a lot of MotoGP listening to this podcast, and I highly recommend it.
Hey, he said we provide insight. Screw that guy on Reddit. That doesn't mean we
screw that guy
insight.
on Reddit that fucking hates us.
Oh, man.
So,
This
actually, I'm going to go with one last one before we start, which is from Kylie Nicole. My husband just made me listen to your podcast during our honeymoon. What the fuck did I just listen to? Sorry for ruining your podcast. Sorry for ruining your honeymoon, Kylie. Sorry, not
bad.
sorry.
Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, I love our fans. They're fucking amazing.
Yes.
Welcome to MotoGP. You just heard a bunch of our brand new reviews from our awesome fans. This is episode number 61, and we are coming at you with the Mugello round. And we know why you're here. Kevin already said it, right? You're here to listen to see who won that freaking awesome Zarco visor that we're giving away. But before we do that, we got some other stuff to do, right?
Like, introduce us all.
Yeah, exactly. Kev's
right.
on the phone.
Yes, I am.
Kev, what are you drinking today?
You know what? I hate to disappoint everyone with, but no box wine tonight. I'm actually busted out the straight champagne, dog. For reals. Celebrating the founding of the Italian Republic, the greatest day in Italian racing since 2008, and giving away dope-free shit to our listeners. So if you are on our Instagram, check out the story, because I'm absolutely drinking champagne as I speak, out of a glass.
Wow, that's fancy.
You are keeping it fucking classy.
Classy as fuck, bro.
I did not expect that from you. I really did.
I know.
I expected it out of like a red Solo cup or something, but you know.
Yeah, no, it's in a glass, straight up, like a glass, like ding ding.
Whoa.
Wait, have you ever drank wine on one of these episodes from a red Solo cup?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth.
As you can already hear, Everett is here too.
And I am drinking some Macallan 12 Costco edition.
Nice.
I feel like I
Costco.
hear ice in that glass.
I drink my scotch with ice. I'm Yeah, I got no shame.
I figured it was you and it wasn't ice in Kevin's wine because that.
It's only Macallan 12. If it was like,
I only put ice in my red wine.
Yeah. If it was 24, I'd probably get chewed out by somebody that listens.
But, yes, that is very true. That is very true. I got in Wisconsin. I got really fucked up on Irish whiskey neat in a bar at like 3 a.m. after the races. That was pretty awesome.
Yes, and he also sent me many a picture of a rather scantily clad Brazilian girl. Maybe we will speak of her later. Luca, Luca, I'm kidding. None of that happens.
Not that she actually listens to the episodes.
Nice. That's good.
All right. Well, let's do some other stuff first. So, of course.
Hold on.
Yeah.
There's an absence. Dennis is not here.
Oh,
and,
I wasn't even
guys.
going to talk about it.
But hold on, his sultry audible chocolate, that his amazing voice will be absent for a little bit. He has significantly difficult work issues right now, so he's taking a short broadcasting hiatus.
You can't keep it that real. You got to give it some like sexied up thing, like he's going on like a journey of spirituality and he's finding his inner peace and like riding a motorcycle around the world.
Dennis is currently studying the sacred art of Wing Chun in a Himalayan, Shaolin monk temple, and so he has his head shaved, and he's learning how to kill a man with his pinky toe.
And that's why he was doing Muay Thai, so he could then be able to defend himself on his travels and prevent bandits from taking his bike and money.
Fucking bandits! He's not in the Argentina round. Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna ride through Argentina on this world travel. Yes, we're making this up all along. He's just
making this up. Exactly.
He's just got shit to do.
Way to go, guys! Way to go on that one. Yeah, right. Dennis ain't here, and he'll be back eventually. Papa Dennis will come back, and I'm sure if we get too far out of line, he'll come back like just for 5 seconds. And I'm also sure that he'll listen in on the episodes and not tell you people that he's here. But whatever. Right. Let's move on, because I don't know if people actually want to hear about your poetic made-up shit about Dennis. So, okay, of course... Damn. I said...
Damn, dog. Fuck.
Damn.
Of course, this episode is brought to you by Riders Law. Riders Law are your California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. And they're doing fucking amazing things. I actually had a whole crew of Riders Law out at Road America for the Moto America round, and it was unbelievably helpful. Like one of the main lawyers was there, as was Fabian, another one of our C of M A racers, and they performed like 3 or 4 tire changes for me in 25 minutes because it was dry and then it poured and then it was dry again and then it poured again, and it was freaking crazy. But we got shit done. Racing was amazing. I actually scored points in both races. And Riders Law is helping me out, and they would very much appreciate it if they could help you out. So if you guys ever get into any trouble on the street, you ever get into an accident, and you need any legal help, please give Riders Law a call. That is riderslaw.com with a Z. So call them up.
Right. So, yeah. Speaking of sponsors, obviously we also have some one-off sponsors from time to time, and Cycle Gear did come back and help us out. So if you need some swag or some tires or gear or whatever, cyclegear.com, or go to one of their many brick and mortar stores. But like most of you are here who are listening and sticking around to the opening, we obviously had a Zarco visor he wore in race that we were lucky enough to get him to autograph, and it's got bugs and all. And if you saw the pictures we've been posting, that is not fake news. That is real. This is in race worn helmet, one of the first 2 rounds. So we're going to give it away. So we are going to give it away to the winner. Drum roll, please.
I will try. I will edit that in.
Yes, exactly. He'll just edit in a drum roll. It's all good. Nick Souza has won the visor. Authentic Johann Zarco visor. That's right. Congratulations, Nick. He also happened to write probably the most real review we got, which is, these guys are the Danilo Petrucci of podcasts. No one knows how the hell they got where they are, but they're pretty fucking decent at it. And I will take that compliment. Pretty fucking decent.
Dude, that is a real solid compliment.
Well, yeah, I will take that. Yeah.
Especially after what just happened in Mugello.
2 podiums in a few years? Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
In the dry. In the dry.
If any of you are wondering if we only picked it because that's not true, it was a truly random drawing. I took all the reviews we had, put them in a numbering system, and random number generated it. So whether it was a one... Right. Yeah. Whether you gave us 5 stars, 1 star, because there was one guy who gave us 1 star who admitted he was only doing it to stand out. That was smart. I like you trying to game the system, but we truly randomized it. So Nick Souza, I will message you and get your information, and we will send it out. Suffice to say, we will have many more awesome giveaways when it comes.
Did you read the 1-star review?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, that was we read the 1-star review earlier.
No. The 1-star review says I don't actually hate these guys. I just wanted to stand out. Oh. So, right.
Well played, 1-star guy.
Well played, 1-star guy.
Dennis did try and collude, and we had to hire an auditing firm to ensure that there was no tampering with the contest.
Yeah.
So.
Dennis normally does the drawings, but I had to take that over because he attempted to collude on some chick who was trying to honeypot him.
He really wanted that visor. That's how bad he wanted the visor.
He really wanted. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, also big props to the guy who gave me the Ninja Gaiden code for how to get easy kills. That game is hard as fuck.
It is hard.
Kev, I want to know actually, do you have a Sega or something that you play at home in your barn?
I hate you because Ninja Gaiden was an NES game, not a Sega game.
I don't know.
Fuck you, Rob.
I'm sorry. I don't even fucking know this.
You know we do know. You know
you
about
ain't
tires.
Even old enough, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You know, let's get down to business before people think this is a retro video game podcast.
Yeah, seriously. All right. So our first order of business is fucking...
Oh, hold on. Before that, I need all of you to start a GoFundMe account, speaking of retro video games, because my boy on Twitter found me an autographed picture of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out screen capture signed by Mike Tyson. It's $600, and I need it. Everyone PayPal me money so I can get that thing so I can post it up.
We could go find Mike Tyson walking around Vegas, and like he'll do it for free probably, and just like buy him a beer or something.
Right.
Okay, so we either pay for Kevin to a flight to Vegas, or we just get him the already pre-signed one.
Yeah. For an GP party in Vegas?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think the Vegas option makes the most sense, yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
all right.
Down to racing.
We've talked long enough about other stuff. So, of course, it is Mugello. They're in Italy, and D's out for Dovi is back.
D's out for Dovi is back! Oh, that was fucking good.
Can you believe it? Can you freaking believe it that the bike that supposedly can't turn made it around this track with all those sweeping corners and used the horsepower to just murder everyone else?
And not just that, man. This shit was destined too, because Dovi woke up that morning with straight food poisoning. He was so wrecked he couldn't even do morning warm up.
Yeah, I don't understand how he was able to just pop an IV in the med center and pull that race out.
You know why? Because he's the hardest working man in the race business, and he's the world's fastest dad. And my man Everett knows when you're a dad, sometimes you're sick and you got no sleep, but you got to get up and go to work. That's just how it goes, right? I mean, especially when you got young kids.
Well,
and that dude just powered through it, bro. He just powered through. He took a double shot espresso and said, "Hey, another nose to the grindstone. It's another day at work."
And the other part is, I don't know, it's a little graphic maybe, but if you've ever had stomach poison, food poisoning or the stomach flu, the trick is really just don't eat anything. And then, he was really at race weight. So, I mean, he was lighter.
I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, he was lighter, and, he was focused, and he was truly hungry. And so I think, it probably gave him that edge.
Yeah, we saw how him being lighter actually didn't help into turn one, right? That right. One time into turn one, he got the massive tank slapper. Oh, freaking insane! I can't even imagine doing that at over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, and he actually said
don't you remember,
he actually said
Marquez
that he
crashing
was
there?
Go ahead. Yeah, exactly. He actually said that he was going so fast early in the race that he actually was surprising himself and wondering if at this pace he would have it. Like, he didn't just surprise us, he surprised himself. The dude was on point right off the bat, and he was going fast enough that he was worried he would tire himself out from his total lack of sleep and total lack of of energy. I mean, if anyone's had food poisoning or the stomach flu, you have no energy. It's not just that you haven't had anything to eat. It's just you're wrecked, dude. And
that was it, right? I think he stopped eating so he could endure it, and that was why in his quote he said, I was just worried I wasn't going to have the energy to go through it. And then I'm sure adrenaline and some other stuff kicks in. You're leading or sniffing the podium, and you're not where you thought you'd be. I think all the factors, right, of that day, weather-wise, the weekend with the tires and some other things, I think they sandbagged a little too, because people did reference that Dovi was teed up to win it. I think who was it, Crutchlow? He's like, oh, this guy's going to win it. And he didn't look like he was anywhere near it. The Yamahas looked good, right?
They'd previously run a 2-day private test there. Yeah. It's their normal testing track. We saw that Pirro, of all people, was looking super good in practice and even in qualifying, their test rider. Bautista was able, obviously, to fight off Marquez and get a top 5 on a year-old Ducati on the third-tier team. So, but for me, I thought this was really like kind of retribution for Dovizioso, because, it was Iannone that sort of stole the first dry win, and even though he got the win last year, it was kind of in those mixed conditions at Sepang, and it sort of was the same thing he won in Donington. But this was just, no one crashed out, there was no problem, he was the fastest man in the world on Sunday. You know what I mean? And for me, it was fucking awesome to see, because Dovi did one thing that really no one else has done, that Rossi didn't do, that I have a hard time thinking that Lorenzo's going to do, which was he started in 2013 and he just powered through. That bike sucked balls. But just like, a hard-working dad, he just put his nose to the grindstone and literally just helped develop and build that bike over time. He barely ever talked shit like Cal Crutchlow did, basically got himself fired. He hardly ever... he was a good company guy and just worked his ass off. And that bike has finally come around. Last year it was doing really well. This year he got, a dominating dry win. And I was, if I'm not going to see Valentino win at Mugello, seeing Dovi get Ducati's win there it was fucking amazing.
Yeah. Well, so you're talking like Ducati has kind of turned the corner. Do you really think this dry win and Dovi finally getting his arguably most important win of his career, do you think this signifies the fact that Ducati can be not just a sort of preferential condition sort of winner, but actually kind of win at multiple tracks and be able to put in a title challenge?
A title challenge, I don't know. I still see them as, Red Bull Ring favorite. Again, Dovizioso probably, favorite to win that race, because that track seems tailor-made for the Ducatis. But yeah. I still think couple race wins this season for sure, and I still kind of think that Jorge turns it around. But no, I don't think title track, because they just, like Everett said before, there's too many times where they're fighting for a podium, but then they're just, the factory riders are fighting for 8th.
Yeah, I mean, these guys did. I mean, they had the advantage, right? And that's why you saw Pirro started out looking very favorable, right? We were even talking about it when we got there, that he would be contending. But the reality is, Pirro's still not a world-class rider like those other guys. What he had was advanced kind of notice and a heads-up on setup and all the laps. He's probably got more laps around that track than all those guys combined, right? So,
right.
Pirro's more of a world-class rider than Petrucci.
Right? He's got Moto3 Pirro has a Grand Prix win.
I mean, I don't know. You could argue that, I think, but let's just but at the end of the day, he's still a test rider, right? And I've talked to like Carl about it, and I think we've talked about this before, that the test rider role just doesn't put you in that same mindset. And then when you do get plugged into a race weekend, you're still in a different mode. So he came out fast, but the other guys caught up, is where I was going with it. And then when they caught up, they just left him in the dust. I mean, he did okay, but given how dominant the Ducatis were and what he's on and his experience at that track, you would have expected maybe, right there with Bautista Marquez, but he really wasn't, right?
So conspiracy theory guy, do you think that Ducati would have had this performance without all that time, setup time at Mugello?
Absolutely not. Come on, no way.
I mean, for me, they've done this before. Like, Mugello has always been their testing track, but they haven't exactly lit the world on fire at this track in previous years, right?
Good point. Yeah, this has been for the past. This has been their test track for years and years and years. In fact, there was some talk that they should switch the test track because their bike wasn't advancing, and maybe it was simply that Mugello wasn't giving them the feedback and the challenge they needed to really push that bike.
Right.
But So who knows? But because this is their first win, with at Mugello with an Italian on there, and I just think that. As we saw with Pasini, and we'll get into that later, sometimes, dude, you just refuse to lose. And I think that this was just one of those races where everything was stacked against Dovizioso, but he was just going to win this race, and he would not be denied. You saw Maverick sort of concede because he knew he had the title to look forward to. The Hondas were struggling mightily, and Valentino had, probably far worse injuries than anyone really suspected before we found out that he was pretty injured.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a really good point too. Is Valle looked good, but then it was pretty apparent that the meds wore off, and that just the ribs and the physicality of this track. There really are no brakes. As much as that straight looks really long, there really are no brakes to recover on that.
Right. I love how you're comparing like Dovi, the guy who had food poisoning and likely was gonna keel over on the podium, to Pasini and Migno. Like it just seems like Dovi had so many more chances to give up, right? Like I never thought he was gonna win this race. It was insane,
Dude,
like especially the look on his face.
Right. Pasini doesn't even use a clutch, which we found out later. He uses the clutch on the left-hand side only to start, and he just bangs downshift like Iannone bangs sluts, right? He doesn't even try and slip that clutch.
You saved that all week, dude. All week.
No, I thought... No, dude, like 4 minutes before. But I put that... Exactly.
That was great.
That was good. But I mean is, like, you saw, and Everett was at Mugello, by the way, guys, which we'll get into Everett in our OG fan Bossum, but sometimes you can just refuse to lose. It's, you see it happen in sports sometimes, and you just will yourself through, and that was just Dovi's morning. Nothing was going to deny him that win. After Migno won, after Pasini won, it had to happen. It was the founding of the Republic after World War II, the anniversary, and it was simply not going to happen.
Well,
no one but an Italian was winning.
Yeah, but that was really it, right? Is the Ducati really was a lot. I think they played coy. I think they really sandbagged it, and then when they got there, the Yamahas looked super dominant in qualifying. The weather was a little bit overcast, and then it got hot for MotoGP again, and I don't know. It seemed a little too convenient to me still, but
yeah, exactly.
You just thought
that shit was scripted.
Everything aligned. Yeah, you took the fact that everything aligned, meaning that Ducati was just playing with us, and they had the pace the entire weekend.
I think they did. Yeah.
I kind of took it as the opposite. I really thought it was the opposite. I thought that they didn't have it for the entire weekend, and that the conditions and the tires and everything just kind of aligned for them right at the end, so that they were able to do it. Like they did have the pace in those conditions, but they didn't have the pace in all conditions. Once it because I feel like if it had gotten any hotter, then Ducati would really have not been up there. It was good that they were like, and Honda would have come forward too at that point.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
I don't know. We'll get into tires and stuff a bit later. Let's move on to Pasini real fast and get the middle and the underclass out quick before we move back to GP. So, Kev, you already brought up his left hand and how he doesn't freaking use the clutch. He's got his brake over there because of...
No, he uses the clutch. It's just on the left. He uses everything on one side. So he uses the clutch to start, and then he doesn't fucking touch that thing till the end of the race.
Which it's
insane.
Yeah, but you could see why, right? That way your throttle hand can constantly be doing what it needs to do, and you can clutch on the left, and...
Oh no, he's not doing it by choice. It is by choice, but his previous injury.
Yeah, he has an injury that requires him to do that.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not being crazy like a fox. He just simply has an injury that requires him to relocate the brake. He's not using the clutch. Literally, he just slams the shifter. Like a fucking dirt track boss, dude. He's not trying to give it a clutch. He's riding speedway style, bro. And that's how it looked too. Pasini winning that race was fucking great because first of all, he denied Alex Marquez another win, so thank fucking God, right? But if Morbidelli's not going to win, Pasini hadn't won since he won the same day that Simoncelli won in 125. Excuse me. It's crazy that he's...
Was that 08, 09? I forget what I was reading.
Yeah, that was a champagne burp, first of all. But yeah, he hasn't... it'd been so long since he won. it's almost like it was just fated for him to win. The idea that we would be talking about Matia Pasini winning a race at home in Mugello in Moto2, like, everyone would have laughed if we brought that up. You know what I'm saying?
And really the way he did it, right? I mean, 5 laps to go, battle with 3 guys. He passes in the most insane place on the track, and he does it twice.
More than that. I mean,
right.
it was really 1 lap to go because he was in 3rd position out of the first corner on the final lap.
Right, but I mean, he made the pass in Casanova before that, and you'd think he would have tipped his hand, and they still didn't block him. Like, oh, that's a crazy place to pass. You won't do it twice. Yes, I will, motherfuckers. Here I come.
Yeah,
I'm gonna double pass you, motherfuckers.
Yo, couch.
Yeah,
right.
And he just
tells you that they couldn't block. There was no possible way that Marquez was blocking into Casanova and that Luthi was blocking into Cervelli. There's no possible way that they were going to block.
It just doesn't look like, and it doesn't look like the fast line, right? So you'd think, I can't do that or I'll lose my drive and my line, yet he still did it and pulled it off. It was remarkable. And that turn is so fucking cranked downhill, man. It does not look like it on TV. It is really fucking downhill.
Yeah, and to see him, you know, it was just like I said, it's sort of one of those refusals to lose. He just simply was going to win that race or die trying, and it was a damn entertaining Moto2 race. It was, you know, the Moto2's been sort of decried lately as not being overly interesting, but that was sort of like the Cinderella comeback fairy tale that was the shot in the arm that Moto2 needed. We talked this the beginning of the season how I thought Moto2 was going to have a banner year this year, and I personally think it's happening. But to see Matia win that race at home following Migno's fucking win in one of the most insane races you'll ever see in Moto3. Right, that shit was nuts. For reals. That was nuts. You know, I was just stoked beyond belief and glad I tuned in to watch Moto2, you know, because a lot of people are sort of tuning it out these days.
Well, this was the best Moto2 race of the season and probably better than 3/4 of the Moto2 races last year. Like, to have Morbidelli not be able to pull away like he had in a bunch of the other races already this season, and to have it be someone else besides him and Marquez, right? Even Luthi put in a good performance and kept everyone honest. And Luthi kind of said this earlier in the year too, right? Like, wasn't he saying that, you know, the first couple of rounds weren't really his bread and butter, and he was just trying to get through them with as many points as possible? And now the championship really isn't that far apart. Like, it's all closed back up again. So if these four riders can put in solid performances and give us races like this, you'll end up being right, Kev. Like, it'll be a solid year for Moto2. It's just kind of funny that it took Pasini, an old guy, to come back through to make it.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a little fluky. It was a little fluky, and I mean but you kind of hit on it. Is Morbidelli, like, where was that guy? Where was Oliveira? Right? He, you know, some of the usual suspects we see weren't there.
But that's it sort of was like,
it's good.
It was
but
sort
why?
of like the beauty of the spec class is that, you know, the cream rises to the top and the best guys are going to win the races and lead, like we see with Morbidelli. But occasionally, because everyone's on relatively equal machinery, one guy can just have a career-defining race, or his star shines one day out of the season, and you kind of look at, oh man, you know, Moto2's the class where anyone can win. That's not really the case in most racing classes, and it was just enough to remind you that sometimes anyone can win.
And, and maybe it's Bassini's backyard. I don't really know, but he probably knows that place pretty well. So,
well, and he, you know, you see all the pictures of the VR46 Riders Academy and their Instagram photos and all that. He's training with those guys, and he's the beneficiary the same way that Valentino is. He's out there riding, and now he's not crashing, hurting his chest, and making himself not be able to fucking race his home Grand Prix. But he's out there. He's fighting fresh young blood. He's learning new tricks, and he's learning how to stay competitive and keep the fire alive. And you know, I think you saw this weekend was really proof in the pudding that Riders Academy is, you know, what Italy needed, and something like that is what pretty much every other country outside of Spain is going to need if they want to stay competitive long term.
All right, well, that leads us into Migno, but I got one other little thing to say about Pasini first. I'm actually not as surprised as you guys are that he was able to be up front in that top 4 group, because the last 2 rounds in Jerez and in Le Mans, he got 2 top 5s, and the other 3, he was fighting for top 6s. he just happened to bin it and then have to restart, and then he still managed to finish the race. Not inside the points. But it seemed to me that Pasini was just putting in another solid performance. Just everything kind of went his way this round. But I don't know. Let's move on to Migno, since you brought up the VR46 Academy.
Migno.
Fuck yeah.
Migno.
Moto3, like, I don't even know how to describe this race, because it
fucking awesome is how you describe it. What do you mean you don't know how to describe it?
No, like, there's got to be a better word than that. There's got to be a better word.
Bellissimo!
What that? Yeah, what is that? What did the guy at the track say? He just said the same thing like over and over. It was kind of annoying, but kind of awesome.
I don't know, because you were the only one that was there. We weren't there.
I'm working on.
You can keep reminding us.
I know. I'm sorry. It's
on your
memory.
GoPro. It's on your GoPro video.
It's on the GoPro that I'm gonna send to you to edit for sure.
I mean, honestly, the race was balls to the wall insane. There was one point where the guy that crossed the finish line, start finish line in first, was 13th at the end of turn 1.
Yeah,
like what the fuck? The top 16, right? The top 16 riders were within 1 second of each other. When they showed the leading group, it was 1 through 23.
Yeah.
Flabbergasted.
It was so good.
It was 6 wide. It was 6 wide and like 3.5 rows deep, and so it was like 20 riders crossing the line within a fraction of a second.
On
and you saw
doing 140 miles an hour down the straightaway and braking for turn 1.
It was out of control.
Right. Yeah. And it was like, you saw so many different riders fighting for the lead, fighting for podiums. I mean, you couldn't even keep track of who the hell was who was in what class. You had rookies that were up in the front. You had that, the SICK 58 team with a couple of those Japanese riders. Like, who the hell are these guys? And they're leading the race. You had, discount Brad Binder, Darren Binder up there again. It was crazy what was happening. Like, Moto3 is so fucking sweet, and they got, I really hope the Triumph engine and new rules can kind of tighten things up like Moto3 is, because Moto3 is just downright amazing racing.
The draft is so insane at this track that those little bikes can't do anything but that. Like, you brought up the Japanese rider Sasaki, he got 8th, which is his best result of the season by far. And then you have good riders, or riders that were expecting to do well, like Bulaga, like down in 10th, just because something went, or Fanati got 13th because
Fanati was leading that race and looking like an easy win contender.
Yeah, and then he blew it in the draft for the last 3 or 5 laps or something and had nothing for it. Like, I don't know how riders like Binder in previous years put together results on tracks like this, because it just seemed like it was so much luck of the draw to be able to win at this track.
Yeah, I don't know if it was luck of the draw, because in the end you saw Migno, with a couple laps to go, get to the front and then break away at the perfect time. I think he had that in his back pocket, and he knew as long as he was able to stay in that relative front leading pack, that he had the pace at the very end. He got in front, and on that last lap he gapped it perfectly and was able to take his first win in hometown with home colors on Valentino's when he was hurt, and kind of he set the tone for the whole weekend. That was a great win, man. I was stoked, and you saw the emotion on him and Valentino when they kind of like embraced when he got to Parc Ferme and off the track. They were fucking jacked, dude, and it would just, when that happened, I knew it. I said, here it goes. This is going to be a fucking great day of racing right here, man. This is going to be so epic.
So you watched them all in order then? Moto3, Moto2, GP?
I did watch them in order, and also to finally break the fucking Honda grip on the. I was starting to worry that KTM had sort of lost their way, and all the focus on MotoGP and Moto2 had made them lose their bread and butter of the lower class, and that, that champagne is making me burp a little bit because I'm such a baller. But I was worried that the KTM had fallen off, and that my favorite team and some of my favorite riders were going to have a problem with that. And you saw how good Fanati was doing once he got on the Honda and off the VR46 team. And Migno really reminded me, okay, that they're here, and I'm still waiting for that Bulaga win, and I have more hope now that Nicola Bulaga will be able to get a win this season.
Yeah, actually,
no, I mean, for reals, have you ever seen Hilary Swank and Bulaga in the same place at the same time? No, you have not, sir.
Yeah, I mean the Honda hegemony of the podium, right there, it's done now because KTM took first and third in that race, and I agree. I was a little shocked. Well, I was shocked at that result because the one complaint we've been hearing this year about the KTM is that they were down on power to the Honda, and yet Migno is able to pull away and not get drafted by. It didn't make any sense to me when that actually happened. Like I saw him leading out of the final corner. I was like, oh, there it goes. It's not gonna happen. Poor kid.
Right? Yeah, he fucked up. He was in the wrong spot, but then he got it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but he still got it. So, yeah, great for the kid. Solid final corner.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
But yeah, so that was all three Italians winning all three races, which is freaking insane.
In Italy, on the weekend of the fucking birth of the Republic. You couldn't be any better than that. I mean, Valentino winning would have been great, but I sort of like, I don't know, Valentino winning would have been amazing, but at the same time, I was a little underwhelmed by the helmet, I'll be honest.
Ooh.
Little underwhelmed, except for the 469, that was very classy, and I like that. But to see Dovi, what's that? The soccer thing, yeah, it was a little esoteric for like really Italy specific. You know, you got to really know like Italian, football club stuff. But seeing Dovizioso get that dominating dry win, that validation of all the hard work he's put in at Ducati. I mean, dude, the list of people that have come and gone while he's there is pretty big, and the list of people who've tried and failed at Ducati is even bigger. And he never quit. Cal Crutchlow joined Ducati, and he basically admitted he quit halfway through the season. You know what I'm saying? And then you thought Iannone was going to do it, but the dude couldn't stop crashing into his own fucking teammate. Valentino said he was so despondent he was going to retire if he had to stay at Ducati. Nicky Hayden, he eventually got rested, God rest his soul, but when he was at Ducati, he never really did much with it, and he kind of just faded into obscurity, and that was kind of the beginning of the end. But Dovizioso never lost sight of it. He kept working. He kept putting his ass, day in and day out. He stuck with it. The results slowly started to trickle in. And I really think that this win, more than the Sepang win, more than any of those initial podiums, was the validation. And he showed that, Dovizioso's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's the fastest of everyone else. He's the best of the rest. And this was the one that proved it. Nothing fluky about this whatsoever. No wings that help. No weird cheater motor bullshit or any of that. Just a guy on a bike that had a lot of power.
Ducati always has cheater motors. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Always. Right.
I want to see Dovi become the most successful Ducati winner behind Casey Stoner. He just needs a couple more wins to surpass Loris Capirossi. But that's what I want to see.
No, I don't think he's off on Casey, but I think Dovi goes down because Casey When Casey joined Ducati, Ducati had already won races and challenged for titles. You know, Capirossi got their first win in 2003, but they got a podium in like their third race, right? And that was the year when Yamaha sucked and Suzuki sucked, and it was really just an all Honda show with Valentino. And then they got those wins, and him and Bayless got wins in 2006. So Stoner jumps on and takes them to the next level. They fought for a title, but that horrific accident, Catalunya, basically probably cost them their title run in 2006, and then Casey takes it and he runs with the ball. But Dovi has led them out of the desert. He's the fucking Moses of Ducati, right? He's the Broses of Ducati and MotoGP. You know, he led them out of the desert, bro. When they were in the dungeon, man, in the darkness, starving in the desert, wandering for 40 years, for 4 seasons, it was Dovi that led them out. Not Valentino, not Jorge, not Cal fucking Crutchlow, or any of those guys. It was Dovi. Casey Stoner might be Ducati Jesus, but fucking Dovi is Ducati Moses. Straight up. D's out for Dozis.
Ducati Moses. Oh, thank you for the title for this episode.
Gigi and the rest. Gigi and those guys are worshiping false idols, bro. The 10 commandments of Ducati: thou shalt have Desmo heads, and thou shalt worship thine doses.
Well, let's move on and talk about some other contenders first before we really address
Yeah, no,
that.
I'm pretty sure I'm only talking about D's out for doses for the next 30 minutes. Because I just coined that term, and I can't not think about how awesome it is.
No, I'll bring up your other savior. Let's
good.
move on to second place Maverick Vinales in this race. So you're probably still on track for your number of wins for Maverick. And
What do you mean probably? I'm 100% on track. I said that he would win 9 races in the title, which is exactly half the races of the season. We just finished the 6th round. He has 3 wins, and he's handedly leading the championship.
All right, well, I'm not going to keep doing the math for you, so. No, we won't. But yeah, so Maverick, he rode this race like a champ, and the nice thing is, yeah, he's kept his title lead, and in comparison to another rider or two that really just choked, right? He's looking more solid for the championship right now.
Right, because when he didn't quite have the win, he still rode to a pretty dominating second place. You know, it's like you win, like Johnny Ray in World Superbike. You know, you win a handful of races, but when you don't win, you get second. How do you fight against that? You know what I mean? He doesn't.
You don't.
Right.
In previous years, I would say you be Marc Marquez and you just pull something out of the bag, but we're not seeing that this year. Marquez rode this race like a chump. Honda didn't have anything for both the Yamaha and the Ducati. Yeah, I know I went there, right? Marquez even got the brand new or the new tire that he wanted and was able to do absolutely nothing with it. There was some fiasco going on with the medium tire actually being harder than the hard tire. Like, how can you be HRC and put this bike on the grid and see Marquez lose to Alvaro Bautista?
Yeah, that's, you know, and HRC has always sort of joked that they're an engine company, you know what I mean? And to see them just get blown out of the water by Ducatis, to see all of their bikes struggling at Mugello, a track, you know, this isn't some outlier track like Argentina where you don't test out. This is a track that's been on the calendar for years and years and years. This is the cornerstone of the whole series. It's the number 1 race. You know, they've said winning, the only thing that's better than winning at Mugello is winning the championship. It's the second most important thing on the calendar, and for them to put a bike out that is just clearly inferior to, you know, year-old Ducatis and the Yamahas are just completely outclassing them is pretty bad. I mean, Marquez lost to Alvaro Bautista and a battered and bruised old Rossi on a Yamaha. That's, you know, it's not a good look for sure.
Well, and especially after Yamaha's had front end issues and tire wear issues in the previous rounds. Like if it was 20 degrees hotter, I kind of would have expected a slightly different race, and maybe the field would have closed up a little bit. But Honda is generally they're not like Ducati. Like they don't only work in one set of conditions. They generally can work in 75-80% of all of them, which is why they win titles. And why Marquez is able to push the bike and do some amazing things with it. But we didn't even see him on the feed in the race because he was fighting with Alvaro Bautista.
Yeah, it's almost like Repsol said, "Nah, bro, don't show that because it's not a good look for us." You know, but you just wonder if it's the same thing where, dude, does Honda win titles, or does Honda win titles because they have did they have the best rider of our generation? Because who have they won a title with in the last 15 years? Other than an insanely weird, fluky Nicky Hayden year, the titles that you see them winning are with Valentino Rossi, the greatest ever, Casey Stoner, one of the top 3 most talented riders of all time, and Marc Marquez, the greatest rider of a generation and, you know, breaker of insane records that no one ever thought would be broken. Honda doesn't win titles. I've sort of come to realize, because you haven't seen Dani win, you didn't see Dovi win, and you haven't seen anyone fight for a title on a Honda except for one of, you know, 3 of maybe the top 5 racers of all time. Certainly 2 of the top 5 racers of all time.
So what is Honda sabotaging themselves right now with Marquez? Like they've led themselves down the Casey Stoner effect again, just kind of depending on their rider, and they've
you gotta wonder, you know.
I mean, the one thing that I don't yet understand about the bike specifically is they changed the engine, but this was the 6th round, right? This is Mugello. I would expect that they'd have a handle on that engine already because they're freaking Honda. Yeah,
last year they were
and way new tires.
And also massively helped out by that strange Jorge slump that he went into. That was a very odd outlier. No one talks about that much. I mean, they talk about it as a joke, but a lot of guys won races last year. But when Jorge Lorenzo, 3-time champion, just suddenly forgets how to ride, that makes it a lot easier for Hondas to win when their number one rival, literally, because Valentino was not their number one rival for all intents and purposes. Jorge, the reigning champion on Yamaha, the number one bike, was just goes on a massive slump, makes things a lot easier to catch back up from their early pain. But I just don't see Maverick going into a massive slump. It's just not something we've seen from him. We've all kind of known that Jorge was a little strange in the head sometimes. I just don't think Maverick's there. It's going to be a lot harder for Honda and Marquez to claw their way back into a title contention.
They'll have to do something more miraculous than the recovery of last year. Right. They'll have to be a light bulb moment where they just somehow go a half second faster a lap for the entire race to beat Maverick and to pull back all those points.
Right. Anything is not possible. Tito Rabat is not winning a race. Stop saying anything's possible. Just say lots of things are possible.
He made it into Q2 this time for the first time ever because he got a tow from Marquez in FP3, and then he qualified reasonably well because he got a tow from Dani Pedrosa in Q2.
Nice.
Oh man, no, Tito did great. He was so happy. That was like Jorge getting on the podium last time out.
Right, you're right. But speaking of guys who rode like chumps and Honda and complain about lax, I gotta point out. Not that Dani rode like a chump, because Dani tried to make a pass and he took out Cal. Cal jumps up, he's heated as fuck, he's flipping Dani off, which again I can sort of get into, but then Cal goes with the later, I'm glad he's not second in the championship. Cal, you're the same fucking guy who was just bitching that the Hondas, when is Michelin gonna help them out? The bike's stuck on that front tire, and you're literally bitching and complaining publicly that the tire manufacturer's not helping you guys out and you're struggling. Well, have you ever thought maybe that's why Dani crashed? Because the tire sucks on the bike and is struggling? You're the same guy fucking complaining about factory support. The same guys who complain year long. And what do you say? You flip off their number 2 guy who's been their factory guy for years. You're telling people, online and on social media that you're happy that the Repsol Honda is no longer fighting for the title. And for fucking reals, bro. Talk about, you send more mixed signals than a teenage girl, man. You literally complaining, right, you're literally complaining that you're not getting all the factory treatment and support that you should from, but you're also telling them that you're glad the factory riders whose parts you want aren't in second place in the championship, and you're glad Honda's sucking this year, but then you're complaining that Honda's sucking this year, and the tires aren't helping you out, and no one's, you're not getting any help out. It's just, this fucking guy, just when I thought Cal Bashin Time was over, he won races last year, it was man, Kevin's gotta eat some crow sandwich, you know what I'm saying? He comes back out. The dude, you did not get knocked out of a title hunt a la Nikki Hayden in 2006. You got knocked out of the same 10th place that you have no problem crashing out of on your own. This is not, you did not get knocked out of a podium like Dovizioso did at Argentina last year, a possible win. You literally got knocked out.
Cal would have won this race if Dani hadn't taken him out.
Yeah, and if they had raced somewhere else on a different bike and the tires were different. Yeah, exactly. Cal would have won this race if they didn't race and Q1 went his way. This was literally, it's just dude doesn't know when to quit. It's the amount of things that he goes on and off about. Everyone talks about how it's great and it's a breath of fresh air that he says it like it is, but he doesn't say it like it is. He just bitches. And there's a big difference between telling it like it is sometimes, like when Jack Miller tells fucking Jorge to shut up and put his, opinions are like assholes because Jorge doesn't get the tire he wants, and then Cal just fucking complaining. You know what I mean? Like, pick your battles. Everyone fucking loves people when they pick their battles and stand their ground at certain points. Hey, my bike fucking Colin Edwards was BMW. My bike fucking sucks right now, bros. I can't do well. Cal is just finding any excuse to bitch. And to literally say he's happy that Dani Pedrosa and Honda is not leading the championship is so fucking retarded when you're bitching about how the bike isn't good this year. You can't bitch that the bike's not good, but then be happy that the guy was actually fighting for the title and the bike that's pretty decent, but now it's not decent. Like, which one is it?
There was actually rumblings a few rounds ago about whether or not Cal was in line for Dani's seat. Should Dani retire? And if that was in any way true, it's gone now. Like, that was it.
Right. Literally, if that's in any way true, I mean, the dude is just simply not you can be a team player and still tell it like it is, but the dude is just not a team player at all. That's the same guy that fucking openly admitted he quit at Ducati, and now he's saying he's happy that riders aren't good. He's complaining that the bike sucks, they can't turn, they have no front end traction, but then he's giving Dani shit for losing the front. You're complaining that you're constantly losing the front. So Dani made an honest mistake, you know what I mean? And to all those people who said Dani has a habit of doing this, Dani never takes anyone out. It happened like one time 12 years ago. Get over it.
He took out Dovi at Coda last year.
Yeah, whatever. Fake
what
news.
What else? No, wait. No, there's got to be another one. Yeah. Okay, we found 3 in his crazy long career.
Right. In this crazy long career, right. And it's, Dani's a super nice, just like Mike Johnson. Right, but, and he runs right up to Cal. He's super worried. He says, "Are you okay?" and all that. And Cal's like flipping him off in his face, like, "Okay, tough guy." I love when these racers act like they're these super tough badasses. Bro, you're still like 5'6", 140. Unless you fight in the UFC in the lightweight class, you are not a badass.
He's got 40 pounds on Dani, so that's quite a
great.
bit.
So he weighs 145. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be like me fighting you if I was Dani Pedrosa and you were Cal Crutchlow.
Right.
It's a terrible idea. Oh man, I'm glad you got some Cal bashing in, because I was also worried that we were gonna lose that segment. Cal, I mean, all his talk about how he could do XYZ if only ABC hadn't happened is it gets old pretty fast.
Right.
Someone stop moving.
That's actually my cat in a bag. I'm trying to get him to get out of the bag without being obvious. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Get out of the bag, cat. Out of the bag. Right. The cat's out of the bag.
Well, hey,
sorry everyone, but at least it's not running massive amounts of distortion from last episode, but that's actually because the cops pulled up and ran a sting outside of Rob's house. So, not to tangent from last episode.
I found out what actually was happening on that. There's a house for sale across the street, and some crazy lady tried to break into it, and the cops showed up and arrested her. And her like Ford Explorer was parked outside that house for like a week and a half or something. Actually, it might still be there. I don't even know. Windows down and everything.
Yeah, it was probably like a 1997 teal green Ford Explorer. Just the one everyone's seen. The fucking paint on the hood is totally peeling because all those Ford Explorers sucks. It might have been that off blue navy with like the brown trim if she went Eddie Bauer. It's like the shittiest car you ever see, and all over the low income areas of your town, you see like 93 people piled into one. None of them are wearing a seatbelt. It's I know what car it was without even seeing it, because of course that's what car it was.
It was the teal green one with the brown interior.
Yes, it is a teal green one with the brown interior, and they probably bought it off Craigslist for like $2,300.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's obviously not doing so hot with it anymore. So whatever. Let's get back to motorcycle racing. So Valentino Rossi, he did very well this weekend. I mean, not even considering the injury, right? Like, he's had front end problems this season, and Mugello is highly dependent on being confident on the front end. You got to brake real hard into turn one, and then you got to roll through all those fast corners. And the conditions were cool enough. The grip was great. Mugello's a high grip track, and Rossi had absolutely no problems with setup this whole weekend. I mean, he qualified on the front row.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hero, knowing that he was injured, knowing that he was, questionable for the race. That qualifying in the front row gave a lot of people, hope that he could win. The crowd looked like it was 80% people in yellow shirts, and they just had so many smoke bombs of yellow. It was amazing. The dude was not going to be denied starting that race. The fact that he would get a competitive fourth with the sort of injuries he had on such short notice is still pretty amazing. But, makes you wonder what kind of actual title chances he has this year as Maverick starts to slowly walk away from him.
Nick Harris was on top of commenting on the yellow shirts the whole weekend. So...
Yeah, great. Yeah, he was on top of a lot of stuff this weekend.
I know the Aprilia.
Yeah, because Mugello was
riding.
Mugello was so loud you can't hear yourself breathe. What? When was the last time you heard yourself breathe in anywhere other than dead silent in the middle of the night when you can't sleep? That's the only time you hear yourself breathe, when there's literally not a single sound anywhere else. Qatar, with 63 people watching it, is louder than hearing yourself breathe. That was like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? And of course, exactly what happens is MotoGP's Facebook blows up with messages. What does "you can't hear yourself breathe" mean? I don't know what's going on. That
maybe
was the square we missed.
He's got asthma, bro. Like, I don't even know.
I don't know. Just after watching the first two races and just the amazing commentary of how awesome Moto3 was and how truly enthusiastic but still on top of it those guys are, the Nick Harris has just got to go. I don't care about you guys that say he's the voice of MotoGP. It's done. If you want to try and talk to me about how he should stay, nah, I can't hear you. It's too loud under the voices of me not being able to hear myself breathe.
Well, all you fans, if you feel so inclined, email Dorna and ask them to drop him for next year, please. I'm tired of it as well. Yeah, just the other two guys have such good chemistry, and they're doing an amazing job with the other two classes. We just need some change for GP. It'll be better, I promise. Dude, I feel like we got sidetracked there off of Rossi. Is there anything?
Yeah, we still talk about Rossi's actual race. Even relatively severely injured, he still gets fourth. He still beats the reigning world champion. He still beats both. He's still beating one of the factory Ducatis, both factory Hondas. He's competitive while injured. So there's no reason for this guy to retire when, a healthy Rossi fights for the title or fights for that win.
I love how so many of our fellow commenters on Barf kind of slated Dani Pedrosa for the title after the last round, and now they're writing Dani off, and maybe Rossi's coming back into it, but he's still not there. Like, this season is showing us that just about anything can happen except for Maverick screwing up.
Yeah, exactly. Anything can happen because Petrucci can podium in the dry.
Yeah, so let's move on to Petrucci then. So I don't know where the hell that came from, because he didn't have a very good qualifying. He wasn't lighting the grid on fire in any of the FPs, and then he just manages to pull this out. And he wasn't even on the same tire combination that Dovi was on. I don't understand it. I know how he beat Jorge.
He was going quite fast in qualifying until he got his, and I have one of my cats going fully insane right now. If you hear that sound, I don't know what it's doing. But he went exceedingly fast in qualifying, but he got his qualifying lap denied for exceeding track limits. So there was hints of his speed there all weekend long. It just simply we weren't quite sure. No one wants to believe it because it seems so ludicrous to believe, but maybe it's not so ludicrous.
I guess that is what last year and this year are doing to us. The ludicrous is becoming possible, and
right.
we're getting very good races for it. I mean, I fully expected him to beat Jorge, even though Jorge charged out in front in the beginning of the race. Knew he was going to fall back. There's no way that Jorge can keep that pace right now. He's kind of the chump in this situation, like we've talked about earlier with Mav and Marquez. I will take Petrucci over Jorge probably 50% of the time these days, because I'm still not sure that Jorge can actually ride this motorcycle.
Yeah, Jorge just, he led that race. This is one of the best tracks for him on the calendar. I think he goes back 7 years by getting first or second, which, by the way, guys on Reddit, is a totally made-up streak. A streak is doing the same thing every time, like always winning in a fight or always winning the race. Deciding that first or second is a streak isn't a streak. It's just he does really good at this track. But, so, it's one of his best tracks on the calendar. He did just get a podium, which you would have thought was him getting a win. He celebrated it so huge. So as of this year, he has the same amount of podiums as Danilo Petrucci. Good job, bro. But Jorge was obviously, he has the knowledge to go around Mugello fast, but he was never going to maintain that pace. And the one thing I give him credit for is he admitted he was more brave than fast. He was just riding balls to the wall as fast and as hard as he could, and it was never going to last, but at least he had some lead laps on a Ducati.
Why did he comment on why it didn't last? I actually didn't read that specific article.
I mean, his quote was literally, he was more brave than fast. He was just riding ham full hard as a motherfucker on fresh tires. It was never going to last, but he was just giving it a go, but as soon as everyone got into their groove and everyone got the tires and fuel loads dropped and things really settled in, he was never going to have it, but he was able to, just use his track knowledge and ability and fresh tires to get out there.
I wonder if that ability to actually push towards the front early in the race is going to help him later on in the season, because it does show some hint of him learning how to ride the Ducati. Like, he's commented that he's having to learn to use more rear brake. An article just came out from Matt Oxley essentially saying that the rear brake is there to kind of cover up the abruptness of the Ducati engine, like at the first hit, because they have so much horsepower that they have to kind of wait to open the throttle, whereas the other riders can roll into it smoothly quicker. So, I mean, with those two skills with that one skill being super important to make this lap time and to actually get the bike to go around corners, he might be learning. I think it was hilarious that Jorge managed to lead at the front of this race after bitching about this new tire that came up. Like, saying that it wasn't going to work and that it was going to hurt him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Jorge. The question I have is how much gumption does a guy who's a 3-time champion? How much does he really have to dedicate to knowing I'm not going to be a title contender or a winner contender for a while, and I just have to bust ass every race to get a top 5 or a 6? I gotta, get 8th is where I'm at right now, and I got to keep going. You got to wonder how trying this stuff really is, especially when you see, Jorge gets a 3rd and he celebrates it like it's a win, and then like 2 races later, fucking 9-foot-tall Petrucci gets a 3rd in the dry at their home race, and Dovi shows him up. I mean, they paid Jorge a record amount of money, so much fucking money to ride that thing, and again, it's Dovi making that bike look good, getting podiums and getting dry race wins. Andrea Dovizioso is the true hero of that squad, and you got to wonder at what point does Jorge go, like, what the fuck, His style is just so antithetical to that Ducati with, Dovi has been developing that bike over years, and it's got solid front end braking stability, but like you were saying, it's so powerful, it's so abrupt that like, early braking and then roll on the throttle that Bradley Smith spent so much time perfecting to be like, Jorge, that's just not going to get it done. You got to ride that thing hard, you got to brake late as fuck, and you got to get on the gas. It's just not, it's so different to what Jorge's skill set and style, that he used to win 3 world titles.
I would guess that it's less disheartening for Jorge to be in this position than it was for Rossi at Ducati, because at least there's an upside, right? Jorge can see that the bike is capable of the results. He just needs to mold himself and maybe the bike a tiny bit to get those results. Whereas like Rossi at Ducati there was no upside.
Yeah, you already see the rumblings where he's mentioned they need to make it more like the Yamaha. You've already seen these rumblings that he. Or do they? Or do they follow that? I mean, again, do they? They won 2 races last year and podiumed a bunch.
No,
they've won a race this year and podiumed.
I agree with some of the other pundits that they do, because Dovi has consistently complained about the turning and that last little tiny bit where they're off throttle and they need to get the bike to turn over. He's complained about it the entire time he's at Ducati. And if that's the one thing that they make more like the Yamaha, then it will fix the bike for everyone. Right? It's not just going to be make it a Jorge bike. It's going to be make it a championship contender bike. And maybe Dovi will be faster than a Jorge when Ducati does accomplish that. Or maybe Jorge will be faster. Either way, it'll be better for Ducati. So I'm down.
Better for Ducati, as if they didn't just have like 6 bikes in the top 8.
True. But I mean, we're coming up to Catalunya.
Better for Ducati. We're talking about we're talking about a marquee that, again, 2 different riders won races on that bike last year, and multiple riders podiumed. We saw Scott Redding podium in the rain. We saw Dovizioso and Iannone win. I mean, how much more all around does that bike need to actually be? Alvaro Bautista just beat Marc Marquez for a top 5. We saw Satellite GP17 on the podium, and Dovizioso won. I'm not so sure that this is if we make it more like a Yamaha, everyone will do well. Pretty much everyone's doing solid right now. We've seen Carol Abraham, leading and in the top 2 of practice sessions. We've seen Bautista, beating factory bikes. We've seen Petrucci on the podium. We've seen that bike all around do exceedingly well, no matter what level of team they're on. I'm not so sure that it's like we need to continue to make the bike like someone else. The Ducati has a character. It's a fucking blow the barn doors off horsepower bike, with a specific engine and character, that you can't, if you're chasing and trying to copy someone else, your copy is always inferior. At some point you have to forge your own path, and that's what Dovizioso put his nose down to started to do to the grindstone, was forge a path to make this thing a race-winning bike. And after a couple of years, they fucking finally see the light, and suddenly Jorge's saying that you need to make it more like a Yamaha. No, bro, you need to be a good Ducati rider.
But the problem is, even Dovi and Gigi still agree that this bike is not a championship contender because of this issue. Right, like even if they had Marquez, who we kind of all agree that is likely the most talented rider, that is the most fit to ride the Ducati because of his riding style, even if they had Marquez, maybe they still wouldn't be able to challenge for the title, because someone else would go faster on the Honda, or someone else would go faster on the Yamaha. Right, if they want to win that title, they got to do just a little bit more. They got to cover all the bases. They got to fix every little thing that's wrong with the bike.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they need to pull off all that horsepower and to temper the top end of the motor. They need to keep that. They just need to fix the bottom end too. And unfortunately, with the regulations, right, with the sealed motors, it's going to be a pain in the ass, and they're probably going to have to wait till the GP18. But they'll probably get there.
Well, we can only hope so for the good of the series.
I know, right? Yeah, because we need more variability and more random people winning. Let's get like an all Ducati podium going next year. That'd be awesome.
That would be, yeah. I mean, Petrucci on the podium was good. I mean, his point about he would sell his house if he knew he could be on the podium at Mugello was pretty good. The guy is entertaining, needs a personality, and right when everyone was sort of over him, he gets his podium. He's probably, I mean, he made like a 3-year career at a podiuming in the wet. He just podiumed at the dry at Mugello on a Ducati. Bro's gonna be a GP, a current GP year rider for the Ducati for the next 4 years now.
Oh, if Jorge bails, Petrucci's getting his ride. Like, that'll happen. Yeah. All right, before we talk about Catalunya for just a quick sec, Kev, I think you have one comment to make about being a little thirsty after the Mugello round.
Yeah. I'm going to say I could rant about how I could do Cal Bashin Time, but I kind of want to do Ev and Bossum Bashin Time. Because after all these years, guys, and it's a hell of a story, they sourced and found, and through guile and persuasion and a little bit of luck and a little bit of insanity, they get Leopard energy drinks. I posted the pics. They sent me pics of them with a non-English speaking Leopard rep. They basically got in the paddock and got to the trailer for the Leopard team themselves to get it. And the first thing they do is blow up my phone. And remember, they're in Italy, so they're 9 hours ahead. So my phone is fucking exploding at like 2 in the morning from these guys. But it's for Leopard energy, so I'm down. I'm good. I'm totally up. I'm good. My girlfriend's like, what's going on? And I'm like, they found Leopard. My life is complete. And the fucking first thing Bossum says is, I'm going to check my bag so I can get it to you. And Everett's like, oh yeah, I'm bringing this to you. And then, none.
Nope.
I'm so thirsty.
Didn't happen.
I'm like Lawrence of Arabia in the parched desert, bro. I'm just mirages left and right of Leopard and my boys. They know this is the culmination of my being. I'm gonna do a YouTube video open. You've seen those videos where the kids like open packages or guys open the new iPhone. I'm literally gonna open the Leopard energy drink and taste test it live on Facebook for everyone. And these guys tell me they're bringing it to me. Guys, they didn't even just say, hey, look what we saw. They're like, we're gonna bring it to you, and then they just don't. The key to this story is that they pawned them off on a chick. And for you guys that don't know what we're talking about, Bossum is strangely charismatic. In real life, when we were talking about going to Coda with him, and my girlfriend's like, oh yeah, you guys will have fun. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Bossum said I could crash at his place. It's just like him and a couple of chicks. And she's like, no. Because Bossum, that dude's like organizing orgies left and right. So anyway, guys, so they're literally sending me pictures of Leopard. Then they're at the Leopard fucking trailer. I have pictures, and they're sending them to me. They have all these drinks. I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna give these away to fans. It's gonna be fucking hilarious and empty-handed. Straight up sad panda Kevin. I'm a sad panda.
A thirsty panda. Yeah, well, I mean, we're running out of time here. Is there anything that stands out for Catalunya that you want to talk about, other than the fucking hashtag chicanes are stupid?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing, is that they've changed the track. There's a whole new chicane, a whole new turn that they've changed. It totally changed the nature and the character of the track, and now we wonder, Valentino did so well last year at it, and we wonder what's going to actually happen.
Yeah, I don't know. The chicanes are tempering my excitement. I mean, we obviously know why the chicane was changed, and that also isn't exactly happy times. And it's just, this track is going to be significantly different. Like even when Rossi
if you guys don't know what he's talking about, obviously we're talking about the tragic passing of Louis Salam and some changes to the track, and hopefully to make it a little bit safer. Certainly in the wake of other tragic news that has happened. So I'm not a big fan of the chicane. I understand why. Rob has sent me detailed, extensive texts on with track layouts and kilometers per hour breakdowns and tire analysis that no one cares about as to why that is.
Thanks for lifting my spirits there, Kev. Thanks.
Right. It throws a monkey wrench in what we know about the track and what we can expect. On one hand, it makes it more interesting. Who is going to handle the best? Is this harder braking zone going to actually help the Hondas at a track that the Yamahas have traditionally gone well with? Is it maybe going to help the Ducatis too, where they've not gone well at this track traditionally? So that on one hand, it makes it a little more unpredictable, and the story of MotoGP in the last 18 months has been unpredictability. But at the same time, Barcelona's a good track, Catalunia's great, and it really kind of throws the character off. None of the riders were particularly happy about it. They all said it was not world-class in terms of its layout and its design, and I'm not really sure what to expect personally.
Yeah, the one thing that most of the riders did say was that the very tight corner, the very tight chicanes is actually going to favor the Honda because they run a shorter wheelbase, they're a little bit more flickable, and like we know, they generally try and push the front end on the brakes pretty hard. But yeah, at the same time, the rest of the track hasn't changed all that much. The first, we added a corner at the end of the backstretch, and we're using the F1 corner instead, which I don't see why they did that as well, because it's not like the other one was unsafe. It was just the most crashed in corner on the calendar. But yeah, Catalunya is coming up. It's a low grip circuit. and for some reason the Yamaha's supposed to be bad there, but they've classically done well at low grip circuits. So it'll be more variability that we can't really expect. So I think, Kev, shall we just close this one out then?
Yeah, Everett's having some technical difficulties, and we've pretty much crossed everything off. Again, Nick Souza, you are the winner. We will contact you, so keep an eye out for a message on your Facebook page. We obviously love everyone that posted stuff. Some of them are great. The amount of effort that everyone put in these, I'm blown away. It really, really made me feel great that you guys are loving the show so much enough that you are really able to put in some amazing reviews. Like I said, you weren't required to write some big funny thing, but I would really love it if you did. And everyone just fully brought their A game, and it was so awesome. I was just being entertained, man. Every day I would pop up and some new reviews were up, and they would always make me laugh. I got a pretty good list of ones that really made me laugh, and the ones that they stuck out that I'm going to send some free shit to when we got it. We got some stuff coming from a couple of artists that we're gonna help you guys out, and some more giveaways. So I really appreciate it. And yes, you guys who said you didn't have a Facebook, because you're like the last 4 people who don't, you did some iTunes reviews, you did some Twitter stuff. You were included in the podcast. I'm looking at you, a chick who is like she's like a hairdresser or something. You were included too, but it was fully random. And it was pretty good. Again, like David Greenmeyer, these guys bridge the gap between amazing MotoGP races and the fans. We all watch MotoGP and wish the interviews, press conference, etc. would give us more. MotoGP gives you exactly that. And the answer to the riddle of Johan, all the power of both steel and flesh come from one's belief. Steel becomes brittle, but Johan's will is indomitable. That is a reference to Conan the Barbarian. There's a lot of references I didn't think anyone would get that everyone gets, which is pretty cool. So
it's like
one of these
our
days,
fans love listening to you, Kev. It's crazy.
It's like our fan. Yeah, exactly. They know us, so they interact with me a lot. So
and everyone,
anyways,
and thanks to Cycle Gear for getting us that visor, of course, so we can give it away to you. And thanks to Writer's Law for helping us out all these times. So yeah, if you guys need motorcycle parts or legal help, hit them up. And
right.
I'm gonna close it out. So thanks for listening, and you're gonna get this Thursday right before Catalunya, and then we're gonna record again right after. So we will talk to you soon.
Yes. All right.
Peace.
Peace.